Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to my channel. So I'm going to be behind the scenes because it's a time for another bookshelf tour. So I film them once a year, well, close enough. And in 2024 I bought an awful lot of books, so my shelves, they changed a lot. And in 2024 I realized that I have one big problem. I'm running out of space on my shelf, so I had to put away certain books and leave the books that I like or I really want to read. So today we're going to go through my bookshelves again. So let's do this. So here we have two Macmillan's library books. So we have Grimm's Fairy Tales and Best Fairy Tales by Hans Christian Andersen. I haven't read this one, and in this one I read the majority of the tales. So then we have two piles of books in Russian, one in English and one in Russian again. So here we have The Plague by Albert Camus, A Room of One's Own by Virginia Woolf, A Writer's Diary by Fyodor Dostoevsky, 11/22/63 by Stephen King. Not a fan of this edition. I prefer these black hardcover editions. By the way, I had this book in English, but I decided to read it in Russian instead. So this is Poor Lisa by N.M. Karamzin. Then we have The Adventures of Oliver Twist by Charles Dickens, Humiliated and Insulted by Fyodor Dostoevsky, Alice in Wonderland and Alice Through the Looking Glass by Lewis Carroll, The Road to Serfdom by Friedrich Hayek, Uncle Tom's Cabin by Harriet Beecher Stowe, and The Divine Comedy by Dante. I haven't read either of these books. I'm in the process of reading The Plague. I actually read Uncle Tom's Cabin in 2005, but I need to read it again. By the way, these editions are called the exclusive classics. Then we have Beneath the Wheel by Hermann Hesse, A Clockwork Orange by Anthony Burgess, Lord of the Flies by William Golding, Brave New World by Aldous Huxley, Crime and Punishment by Fyodor Dostoevsky, 1984 by George Orwell, Of Mice and Men by John Steinbeck, Stepford Wives by Ira Levin, and Fugue for a Darkening Island by Christopher Priest. I barely hear people talk about this book. Okay, here's the English pile. And then we have these Penguin Little Black Classics. So this one is To Be Read at Dusk by Charles Dickens. Then we have An Old Nurse's Story by Elizabeth Gaskell, The Yellow Wallpaper by Charlotte Perkins Gilman, Aphorisms on Love and Hate by Friedrich Nietzsche, and Sketchy, Doubtful, Incomplete Jottings by Johann Wolfgang von Goethe, The Power of Words by Simone Weil, The Handmaid's Tale by Margaret Atwood, The Night Circus by Erin Morgenstern, Foundation by Isaac Asimov, Masquerade by Terry Pratchett, King Arthur and His Knights of the Round Table by Roger Lancelyn Green, The Secret Garden by Francis Hodgson Burnett, On Writing by Stephen King, The Talisman by Stephen King and Peter Straub, Mistborn: The Final Empire by Brandon Sanderson, for some reason translated as Ash and Steel in Russian. I need to replace both of these books. These are my favorites, by the way. The Smith of Wootton Major and Other Stories by J.R. Tolkien. Then we have 4 Agatha Christie novels. So on top we have X or Y or N or M in English. Then we have And Then There Were None. By the way, this one, And Then There Were None, it's published in Russian under its original title, Murder at the Orient Express and Death on the Nile. I only left those Agatha Christie novels that I really liked. Well, except this one, because I still need to read this. Some easy reading in English by Ilya Frank. There are jokes in English to learn the language. And The Handmaid's Tale by Margaret Atwood in Russian. It's really exhausting to film over there, so then we have on this shelf, it changed so much. By the way, here's some stuff I have over here. So here I have the little Colosseum I got in Rome. Oh, Little Nemo. Once I saw this, I knew it would be great for my shelf. So this is a little girl with her teddy bear. So this is the side from Game of Thrones. It's about the three-eyed raven from the show, and it came along with the figure of the three-eyed raven. And then I have these decorative candles. I have 3 of them. Let me show you here. But I will keep them turned off. So all books on the shelf are in Russian. So The Book Thief by Markus Zusak. I also have the English version. Project Hail Mary by Andy Weir. I also have The Martian. Okay, this is a Russian book talk bestseller. It's called The Sorcerer of the Russian Empire, Count Averin, by Viktor Dashkevich. So if you are fluent in Russian, maybe you have heard of this book. Maybe it's going to be translated into English at some point, I do not know. Thursday Murder Club by Richard Osman. I got this book for quite cheap actually. So this is Station 11 by Emily St. John Mandel. Wow, it's so difficult for me to say the author's name. And then we have, by the way, how is this book called in English? Sorry, I need to look this up. It's called The New Wilderness by Diane Cook. By the way, both of these books are published by Inspiria Publishing House. So then we have Watership Down by Richard Adams, and a lot of Stephen King. Sleeping Beauties he wrote alongside his son Owen, Like a Buick 8, Dreamcatcher, Carrie, The Shining, Needful Things, Joyland, Full Dark No Stars, The Long Walk and The Running Man in 1 volume, The Dead Zone, and Revival. Then we have my old editions of Lord of the Rings. So here is The Hobbit actually, Fellowship of the Ring, The Two Towers, and Return of the King. I actually find it quite ironic that The Two Towers in Russian is bigger than in English. And then we have the book that made me suffer a lot, it's The Silmarillion. Insert the infamous meme with the 2 characters from Pirates of the Caribbean and The Silmarillion. And then we have my old obsession, A Song of Ice and Fire books by George R.R. Martin, A Game of Thrones, A Clash of Kings, A Storm of Swords, A Feast for Crows, and A Dance with Dragons in 2 parts. And then we have my English shelf. So another candle, this little unicorn. So this wonderful Blind Guardian album, Imaginations, from the other side. I want their other albums in my collection too. So then we have this three-eyed raven figure from Game of Thrones. Yeah, this is a licensed thing. And then we have this postcard with the autograph from one of booktubers. So there's this one Russian booktuber, Polina Pars, who moved to Georgia, and surprise, surprise, I met her. And I bought this postcard, and she wrote something for me. It's a quote from Harry Potter, that happiness can be found in the darkest times. I do not remember the exact quote from Dumbledore, unfortunately. And also this little car from Happy Meal. Off to the book. So here we have the Aristotle and Dante books by Benjamin Alire Sainz. Aristotle and Dante discover the secrets of the universe, and Aristotle and Dante dive into the waters of the world. So here we have A Good Girl's Guide to Murder trilogy. So here is the first one, A Good Girl's Guide to Murder. The second one, Good Girl, Bad Blood. And the third one, As Good as Dead. Then we have 2 books by Octavia E. Butler. So here we have Parable of the Sower and The Parable of the Talents. I bought. Then we have the Earthsea books by Ursula K. Le Guin, or to be exact, the first 4 books in 1 volume. So Tolkien and the Great War, The Threshold of Middle-earth by John Garth. This is a biography of Tolkien. So here we have The Hobbit by J.R.R. Tolkien and the Lord of the Rings trilogy. Yeah, this book is much smaller than the others. Yet in Russian it's bigger. Let me put this album back where it belongs, alongside the Tolkien books. Then we have The Book Thief by Markus Zusak. Yellowface by R.F. Kuang, The Giver by Lois Lowry, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, and Matilda by Roald Dahl. You know, ladies and gentlemen, I am actually quite disappointed, for after buying the books I found out that these are the heavily edited editions. They changed or cut phrases from the books. Snow Globe by Sayang Park, never heard anybody talk about it, and I simply found the book in the bookstore. The House in the Cerulean Sea by T.J. Klune, Vicious by V.E. Schwab, Lapvona by Otessa Moshfegh. I hope this book is better than my year of rest and relaxation. The Shining by Stephen King, in English. A History of Heavy Metal by Andrew O'Neill. Cassandra in Reverse by Holly Smale. Bought the book because I thought I needed some easy read. I haven't read the book yet, I hope it's easy to read. The Crucible by Arthur Miller, The Last Unicorn by Peter S. Beagle, and the Harry Potter books by J.K. Rowling. Moving down, books in Russian again, well, almost all of them. Yeah, I have this little sketchbook of, it's called The Lady on a Horse by, what's his name? Brulov. Last name was Brulov. Lady on a Horse. I really like the sketchbook and I just keep it as a trophy, as a memory from the Tretyakov gallery. So this little owl on the books and academic hat and another candle. So then we have a bunch of my favorites. The Never-Ending Story by Mikhail Ende, Ender's Game by Orson Scott Card, and I'm Ozzy by Ozzy Osbourne. Then we have Enter Night, Metallica biography by Mick Wall. It's a history of Nirvana, Come As You Are by Michael Azerrad. And the only ever authorized biography of the Beatles. Lord of the Rings in full volume by J.R. Tolkien. And alongside we have the Chronicles of Narnia by C.S. Lewis. When I bought this edition of Lord of the Rings, I knew exactly this was going to stand alongside Chronicles of Narnia for obvious reasons. Yeah, these books are the classic fantasy books in one volume, and also the authors were friends. I have an entire video dedicated to their friendship, feel free to check it out. So these are the Russian editions of the Kingkiller Chronicle by Patrick Rothfuss. The first one, Name of the Wind, and the second one, The Wise Man's Fear, in 2 volumes. Oh yeah, the Stormlight Archive by Brandon Sanderson, Way of Kings, Words of Radiance, Oathbringer in 2 parts, and Rhythm of War in 2 parts. So I'm waiting for the Knights of Wind and Truth to be translated into Russian. Before the book comes out, the translated book, I'm going to read the books. Okay, then we have Mistborn books 2 and 3 by Sanderson again. So then we have Well of Ascension and The Hero of Ages. Then we have The Black Prism by Brent Weeks. This is the first book in the Lightbringer series. Then we have Foundation Trilogy, the first trilogy by Isaac Asimov. Bunny by Mona Awad. I want this book in English. So this is the First Law trilogy by Joe Abercrombie. The first one, The First Law. Second one, Before They Are Hanged. And the third one, The Last Argument of Kings. Oh, and this book, I really want you to see the cover of this one. This is Madly Deeply, the Alan Rickman Diaries. I knew I wanted the book the moment it was announced. Also, when I look at this cover, I feel like he's staring through my soul. Okay, more books in English and in Russian too, and even in Georgian. The Kingkiller Chronicle in English by Patrick Rothfuss. So here we have The Name of the Wind and The Wise Man's Fear. These are the Gollancz editions. It's a British edition. The Priory of the Orange Tree by Samantha Shannon. Tolkien Stuff, Beren and Luthien. Children of Húrin. The Fall of Gondolin. Oh, forgot to point out the things I have here. Here we have a little ducky. And this random thing I found in Batumi. It says, a big victory is made of regular small efforts. Really solid quote. The Fall of Arthur and On Fairy Stories. Then we have the 3 Alice Oseman books. So here we have Radio Silence, I Was Born for This, and Loveless. I still need to read this. I am kinda disappointed that this book wasn't in the same edition as these two. This is how it looks. So then we have Humankind, A Hopeful History by Rutger Bregman, Different Seasons by Stephen King, and Misery by Stephen King. Daisy Jones and the Six by Taylor Jenkins Reid. Uncommon People, The Rise and Fall of the Rock Stars by David Hepworth. Bohemian Rhapsody, The Definitive Biography of Freddie Mercury by Leslie Ann Jones. Then we have Cursed by Thomas Wheeler. Dolly Parton and James Patterson, Run Rose Run. Then we have Aeropagitica and Other Writings by John Milton. Summer in a Pioneer Time by Yelena Malisova and Katerina Silvanova. Then we have Faust by Goethe. To Kill a Mockingbird by Harper Lee. 100 Years of Solitude by Gabriel Garcia Marquez. This one is Equal Rights by Terry Pratchett. The Wheel of Time books by Robert Jordan. The first four ones. The Eye of the World, The Great Hunt, Dragon Reborn, and Shadow Rising, which I failed to finish. And then we have two graphic novels by Malin Falk. It's about Valley of the Trolls. I know that there are 6 of them, and in Georgian they translated only the first 3. I still need to buy the third one. And finally, the most difficult shelf. Oh my god, this is going to hurt me. It's difficult for me to film here, but I'm going to do that anyway. So here we have Elantris by Brandon Sanderson, Paradise Lost by John Milton, The Courage to be Disliked by Ishiro Kishimi and Fumitake Koga, The Secret History by Donna Tartt, Sapiens, A History of Humankind by Yuval Noah Harari, The Navigator by Lasha Bugadze, German Jokes by Ilya Frank. Then we have the whole The Witcher books by Andrzej Sapkowski, The Last Wish, Sword of Destiny, Blood of the Elves. What's this one? Baptism by Fire, Tower of the Swallow, and finally The Lady of the Lake. Then I got His Dark Materials by Philip Pullman, all 3 books in 1 volume, all 6 Scott Pilgrim graphic novels, and finally Dune books in 2 volumes. I just cannot reach my hand there anymore. Okay, so some time passed between filming the video and editing it, and between filming and editing I bought my first book of 2025. This is Momo by Mikhail Ende. I just couldn't resist the discounts. I wanted to get it for a long time, and now it is standing over here alongside The Neverending Story. By the way, I did not film this video on December 31st. I filmed it much later. These are on the books on my shelves as for December 31st, 2024. There are books elsewhere, but these are just the books on the shelves that I showed you.